to another podcast of Menopause, Why Don't I Know That, where we are empowering women through education and conversation. And today I have a very special guest that I'm going to speak to. She's a personal friend but also an industry colleague who I respect and admire very much, especially for her skills around health and what she is doing to inspire women to lead, or everybody, not just women, but everybody to lead a happier, healthier life. And that is my friend Maya Brosnan. So welcome and thank you for spending time with me on the couch.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good to be here.
Yeah, so Maya is, we met many years ago, didn't we? Well, we both published a book around the same time.
Yes.
So I published a book called The Lunchbox Revolution because my focus at that time was about inspiring children to live, to grow up to be happy, healthy adults if we started feeding them better food. And you wrote a book called Kiss, Keep It Simple.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was all focused on, what was the main focus of your book?
The main focus was to show people how simple it actually can be to have a healthy diet and lose weight naturally.
Yeah. Sounds so easy.
It is easy. It can be very simple, which is why I chose the name, I suppose.
It was. It's a beautiful book. Now there are Maya is actually a nutritionist, so she's a qualified nutritionist, but what she does is also something very interesting. Well, she wears a lot of hats actually, so she does meditation and yoga and fitness as well. That's a big part of your life, and you can see that by looking at her. Of course, those of you that are listening on Spotify can't see it. Maybe you have to go to YouTube and have a look at Maya. She's walking, talking picture of health because she lives, eats and breathes what she tries to educate other women to do, which is... and it's a real credit to you. So she looks fantastic. But one of the modalities that Maya uses is Iridology.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people may not have ever heard that. And, what's that saying that your eyes are the window to your soul? But they're a lot more than that. The eyes are literally a window to your health.
Absolutely.
So explain to the audience what Iridology is.
Yeah, okay. So Iridology is the examination of your health via looking at signs in your iris, so the coloured bits in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We look at the iris colour, we look at the structure of the fibres inside the iris, and we look at any other additional signs, and that gives us who you are, meaning where you've come from genetically. Right. It can go back a few generations.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and where you may be now.
Yeah.
And also give us a really good idea of where you may be headed to in the future.
So your eyes change?
Your eyes, some of your eyes can change, right?
Mm-hmm.
The eyes can accumulate signs, but they're not able to erase. Most signs will stay, once you've got them there, they'll stay with you for life.
Right.
Some signs are there that you're born with.
Yep.
The structure of the fibres of the actual iris are something that is genetically predetermined.
Right.
You cannot change that. It's like your fingerprints. Right?
Okay. Yep.
But if you've got any other specks and any other signs and sometimes you look at some people's eyes and they've got little freckles in their eyes.
Yes.
They can be an accumulation. Once they're there, they can get larger in size.
Mm-hmm.
They can get more intense in colour. The colour can become darker over time.
Right. And what determines that? Is it lifestyle? Here we're getting to the nitty-gritty now.
Many things. So when we look at specks like that come into the iris, we look at a few different things. Physically speaking, yes, depending on what colour the jewel or the speck in the iris or the freckle in the iris is, that determines if it's related to pancreas, for example, if it's orange. If it's brown, it's more liver, so there might be a problem with the liver.
Yeah.
If it's orange, we talked about pancreas. Yes. If it's yellow, then it could be kidney related.
Right.
But then you look at those signs.
Everybody's rushing to the mirror now to have a look at their eyes to see if there's any colour.
I think you should. I think everyone should.
Have a look. Get your glasses on.
And then if you have those signs as well, they can come up simply, not necessarily just from a physical aspect. The physical aspect of your health, but they can also represent an emotional, either something that's going on now or something that's been happening to, for example, with jewels or with those specks. people eyes like this, those little jewels bring more grounding to a person as well.
Right.
So
okay.
yeah, they
So there's
represent
good
a
and
different
bad.
side. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
So there's
good things.
Yeah, there's good things. And just might add, and I know I talk a lot, but I love iridology so much. And there's so much you can learn from that.
That's why we're here.
There's with iridology, it's not just the physical side of iridology.
Yeah.
The emotional aspect as well
Yes.
is absolutely massive. And what I see through my clinic and my practice, and through my family as well, is that the emotional state of a person, a client, family, can greatly determine their health. It goes both ways, and it goes the other way as well. If you're well physically,
Absolutely.
it can, or not well physically, it can really affect your emotional.
I think people understand that if you were comparing it to, say, stress and how emotional stress affects you physically.
Yeah.
For most people, it affects their digestion straight away, without a doubt. Like that is definitely effective. But then it can have ongoing, inflammatory, processes that can be contributed to stress. So I think people understand that. With regard to eyes, how many different coloured eyes are there? Is there just blue and brown and something in between?
Yeah, good question. In iridology, we look at two major iris colors. We've got a blue iris. We have
Like mine?
like yours.
Yes.
A true blue iris,
Yes.
just like Mona's. A true brown iris, which we
Like
call
yours?
hematogenic, which is just like mine, like more of the ethnic type brown iris, where you look through and there's no other color underneath that you can see, even when you take an iris shot, a proper iris shot with an iridology camera. And then there's a combination iris where you can get a little bit of blue with either an overlay of brown over the top, or some other brown color coming right through the middle that can, in certain light, appear more maybe hazel.
Right.
Or,
okay.
Yeah.
What about, so you see some eyes that are so green or quite yellow, they're just like incredible colours in them. Is that a good or a bad thing?
Nothing is good and nothing is bad. Or everything is good and bad at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
okay. Lives
Everything-
together. And it's like yin and yang, isn't it?
Everything is good and bad at the same time. So, physically speaking, if you look at green, if you look at yellow, that is related to kidneys. So kidneys, yes, they may have some kidney issues. They may not have very good thirst mechanism, for example, not drink enough water. They may have a problem, or an inherited problem, perhaps. It depends on how long that colour's been there. If they were born like this, they could have some problem with their kidneys, and maybe digesting proteins, things like that as well. She's happy now.
Just
That's
putting
good.
the dog
We've
down.
got
We've
a
got
little dog here.
Yeah, we
We've
keep
got
it
two
real.
little
We have
dogs here.
dogs in the studio all the time. This is the way our life rolls anyway.
That's right.
Are there particular signs that you look for in people's eyes? Are there things that stand out? So that has a common thread that most people tend to go, oh well, yep, there's another one. Like,
yeah, what I've noticed a lot with people, there's two things that I always look for, and I have noticed a lot: nervous system issues and digestive issues. And there's so many ways to examine the iris to be able to find those. For example, we have a thing called nerve rings, so we look for those. We look for the size of the pupil. One of the only things that can actually change in the iris is the size and the shape of the pupil, and that does represent your nervous system in more lifetime now.
Right,
so if people have
okay.
really dilated pupil, for example, they may be adrenally exhausted, fatigued, have fluctuating energy levels. We also look at actual signs, either flowers, which are little openings in the fibers.
why are you looking at me when you talk about flowers?
because you
I
are
have
a flower, you have
flower eyes.
flowers,
Okay, that's
bigger
all right. I
eyes.
don't mind sharing. Yeah,
Yes.
I understand that. So tell us
So
about
I'll
flowers.
tell you about flowers more. Okay, would you like me to finish
She's
talking?
looking at me with
I
a
know,
side
but-
eye. For those people that can't see this video, Maya's giving me the side
know.
glance. Okay.
But do you know, I have so many flowers around me, and I absolutely love having flowers in my life because I'm the complete opposite sign to what a flower is,
Okay.
which has taught me so much. So we'll divert from what we talked about, and we'll talk about flowers now, if you like.
Okay, all right.
I find it absolutely fascinating. I love emotional iridology, and that's the one thing that's, after I studied physical iridology, I stumbled across emotional. I didn't know that that learning emotional iridology was going to affect my life in such way that it was pretty much starting an emotional revolution and an emotional awakening for me and for my family as well.
Yeah.
So,
but to give you a deeper understanding of those people and I suppose how you relate to them.
Yes, it pretty much teaches you what your emotional default is. Right. So when you turn right, why do you turn right? When you go left, why do you turn left? Why do you act a certain way? Why are you emotional in certain situations? It helps you understand.
I'm emotional in all situations. Yeah. I am. I do. I know that I am a very emotional person. My kids know I'm an emotional person, and things touch me really deeply.
That's right.
Very deeply.
And that's exactly what flowers are like. Flowers experience life through the sensitivity of their heart. Yeah. So they are quite emotional beings.
I could cry just to thought of that. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And we talked before about, is this sign good or bad? It can be a strength and it can be a weakness at the same time.
Definitely.
Flowers, when flowers live in their essence, they are the type of people that others get attracted to. They're absolutely beautiful. They show so much beauty and so much love and compassion for other people. People are attracted to them. They see the positive.
Yes.
They are emotional in a good way. Being emotional is not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing.
No, I agree.
But then
I have to say that.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
But then the problem is when you think about it's not a problem though. Let me just rephrase that. Flowers are very open. They're very open people, so they can see everything, and they can see everything coming from everywhere. So they can get so confused because they look at everything at the same time, and it's hard, which is the reason why it can be really difficult for them to focus.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on
because we're pulling in information from all different directions. That's how I know I feel. I mean, I know this shouldn't be a podcast. It's not about me. It's not about
we
me.
should do a session about you.
Shouldn't be about me. But I completely see that and how it can be. Yeah, it's a really positive thing because I feel other flowers I'm sure are the same, and this might explain for a lot of people, why they feel the way they do, or why there's so much energy and stuff coming from so many outside sources that I get distracted really easily.
Yes. So the way I see it, and my partner Mark as well, he's a holistic counsellor. Flowers are lateral thinkers. So everything they come across has the same urgency. They find it really hard to prioritize.
What's more important? Yes.
And they find it really hard to find structure, and that's their challenge, right? Because naturally they're more right-brained.
Yes.
And they're open and they can see everything. With my clients at my clinic, I find that people that I try to set them and put them on the right track, like trying to help them with, say, weight loss, for example.
Yes.
So they would do that for a while, and then a few days into it, they'd go, I heard this diet works really well, so I'm going to go intermittent fasting now because I heard that's really good. And then the next thing they do is they go, actually I'm going high carb, low fat. And because they can see everything and they can't really focus on the one thing, I say to my flowers, my clients, they need to...
So listen, petal.
Listen, just they need to find more focus. Just imagine you're, like putting blinkers on like a horse.
Yes.
So you can stay focused and stay with me. So they're the ones I need to hold hands with throughout the process.
I think diarising for those people, like I know for me, one of the greatest things that I learnt through my professional career to help me focus was to diarise my day. I live by my diary, and I still have the old school diary where I write things because for me, kinesthetically, that's what I have to do. I have to write it down. I do not use a digital diary because to me, like, no, that doesn't work because for me, I need to write it. It stays in my brain. I can focus on it and I can see in front of me the steps I need to take to get through the things I have to get through in my day. So that's what helps me. So
that's really healthy.
Yeah,
for a flower.
It's just... I'm a healthy flower. That's good to know. Do people think you're psychic when you can reveal so much information about them? I mean, and Iridology is an incredible tool. If you haven't been to an iridologist, I encourage all of you to seek out someone that is close to you, or if you're on the Gold Coast, you can come and see Maya. I will be putting her links to this. But yeah, I mean, it's almost like you're psychic. You're seeing things in them that people may not have been vulnerable enough to share with anyone else in their life, and all of a sudden you're bringing it out. And that's a huge thing, isn't it, for people then to come to terms with and go, wow,
Yes.
you can see so much, you can see right through me, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. People do think I'm psychic.
Yes,
but,
or psycho.
Or a psycho. Some people do, and that's okay.
No, psychic, definitely. We'll stick to psychic.
But what I was going to say was, yeah, people do think it's quite unusual. They don't expect you to know so much about them by them just sitting there with you and you looking in their eyes. But the way I see it is that the eyes never lie.
Yes.
The eyes never lie. They show you everything.
Yeah.
They show you everything. And
don't trust a person who can't look you in the eye.
Exactly.
That's an old saying, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Well, do I get in trouble? Can I say that? I don't know what you can't and can't say anymore, but I'm going to say it because it's our podcast, so we can say what we like.
Exactly.
But, I think I trust more people who can look me in the eye and speak to me. There's something, because they are showing you their true self, they are being vulnerable, and that honesty comes from being able to look you in the eye and speak to you, truthfully.
Yeah, 100%. And going back to that, when I look at people's eyes, I'll give you one example. I've got so many, but I'll give you one. I had a few months ago this really big, big muscly guy with tattoos everywhere, who walked in for a physical assessment, and I had to help him with a few different health issues. When I had a look in his iris, he was the most flowery, if I can say that, flowery flower I've ever seen.
The most flowery
my whole entire life.
Wow.
His exterior was really tough.
Yes.
Really, really tough.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I knew that the way he experiences life is through his heart. And I knew that this would be a challenge for him.
Yes.
To be trying to live in this male-dominant society and not show his emotions.
And this image that he had of himself, and this mask, I suppose, that he that he presented a certain way to the world. Yeah. But truly in here,
yes, he is as flower as they come.
Wow.
And when I started talking to him about it, he started crying, and it's always a safe space with me. And I just had to explain to him that it's okay. It's okay for men to be. They can still be quite manly.
Yes.
When they're vulnerable.
Yes.
It's just
that makes them even more attractive.
It makes them even more attractive.
Men, if you're listening,
that's right.
Hopefully there are some men listening to this to get tips on, how to understand women better too.
Yeah.
But it just makes men so much more attractive when you can be vulnerable in that space and go, hey, 100%. This is who I am, raw and all.
That's right. But you do find that men sometimes, they get the tattoos, they get a ute, they get big muscles, everything they can to try and suppress those emotions. Yeah. And what you talked to us before about emotions and how they affect your physical body, the way I see it, any issues will stick in your tissues if you suppress them. Your issues will end up in your tissues. So if we don't let ourselves express those emotions and feel them to their fullest, over time, yes, we will get physically unwell.
They'll be expressed physically.
They will be expressed physically.
They've got to come out some way.
They've got to come out somewhere. That's exactly right.
Out and in.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like, a large part of our audience is menopausal women, middle-aged women.
Yes.
I'm a middle-aged woman. Menopause. Well,
Very,
very, very middle-aged. We won't go there. We might save that for another show. Are there common signs that you see in middle-aged women? Is there something that threads us all together? Are there particular signs in the iris that you would see in menopausal women?
Yeah, quite often I see signs in the adrenal area.
Yes.
And there may be other iridology type signs related to nervous system that I look for when females show up with menopausal symptoms, especially when they're severe. 9 times out of 10 they're there. There's some women who are also the flower type, so just like you, right? Some women who are the flower type that have openings in the fibers around the glandular region, which if you look closely in the mirror and you see those flower petals around the pupil, so then the iris looks like a full flower, right? Those particular women are ones that are also, physically speaking, the hormonal type. So those types of women would either experience hormonal issues through their life, and they can have, anything like from endometriosis to PCOS to PMS, PMT, painful periods, all the rest, the whole lot. And when they get to menopausal age, they suffer. They really do suffer.
The worst ones. Wow.
Yeah. Sweats and...
So if people weren't running to the mirror now to look at their eyes, well, they are now.
Yeah.
So have a look at, am I a flower?
Yeah.
Okay. And when it comes to adrenal glands, I mean, I get that because I also see a lot of burnt out women at this age because, I suppose, kids are coming towards the end of high school if you've still got children of that age. Some are caring for aging parents like I am. You're working. You're trying to manage everything in your life. So you have to be really careful about looking after yourself and making sure that you don't burn out, that you do spend time, for yourself and nurturing yourself and not always saying yes and looking after everybody else first.
Oh goodness, absolutely. You've got to look after yourself first.
Yeah.
You've got to put yourself first, especially at this time. And I do feel very deeply that this time for women is time to sit with themselves and be able to respect and love themselves and find that time to really connect with their inner true essence and find their wisdom, because that's what we've been put on this planet for.
Absolutely. We
Women
have so much to give.
Much to give.
So much wisdom and knowledge and things to share. And I think that's something in our Western culture that we tend to not, I think, respect maybe as much as some of the other cultures around the world where, the old sages, are still part of the household, and they go to the older women or the older people in their village, that they are the most revered and the most respected because they have so much knowledge and so much, life skills to share with everybody. And that's, we're sort of cast out. I mean, even now in society, women in their 50s, I think from 55 up, one paycheck away from being the most homeless demographic in our country. That we, and here we are, women who have, we've raised children, we've worked, we've looked after everyone else, but because of, economic and social structures, that women are the largest growing demographic of, homeless people. It's frightening. So we are the total opposite of where we should be about, respecting women and the wisdom that we can bring to the younger generations.
Yeah. I feel that we've still got a lot of work to do. So, and there's so much for us to learn from other cultures, that have been looking up to the women at this, going through this phase in their lives. But just going back to the nervous system again, I feel with menopausal women specifically, it's so important to regulate their cortisol levels.
Yes.
I still see women there relying heavily on caffeine, and some of them have like 4-5 cups of coffee a day, and they've got night sweats, and they can't sleep, insomnia, they've got all these symptoms, they're irritable, they've got anxiety, and so that's something that's really important to look at just by reducing caffeine intake.
Yes.
And allowing your nervous system to settle, bring back your parasympathetic nervous system back into life. A lot of women also rely heavily on alcohol.
I was just going to say the opposite end of that is alcohol. Coffee to wake them up, alcohol to numb them down.
Exactly.
So it's like the top and tail end of a day, isn't it? And it's such a cyclic habit that they get into. And it's a really hard one to break.
It is a hard one to break, but I feel that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's a lot of a lot of lifestyle changes, and once you start seeing the results, it should be good enough motivation to keep
Why
going,
would you
because
want
I
to
don't
go, why
know
would you
why
want to
you
go
would
back?
want to go
And
back.
I think some people don't know the difference, especially women. They don't actually know that they're unwell until they're well. They don't know the feeling.
Yes.
Because their life is just adjusted on this course that they're on, that they actually don't know the difference. And it's not until they do change things and they make that commitment and those consistent efforts that they understand, wow, this is how I'm meant to feel. And when they sort of look at you and go, well, how long is that going to last? And you say, well, as long as you want it to.
Exactly.
It's going to last for as long as you put the effort in, as long as, you are consistent, as long as you eat well. And we talked earlier before off camera, we were talking about, the simplest thing for anyone to do, and especially women, menopausal women, the simplest thing to do to get you on the road to health is to change your diet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you need to tweak your diet, ladies. You can't
Big time.
eat the same thing you did when you were 20 because your body's not working the same way. Your metabolism isn't functioning the same way, especially if you've been eating the wrong things.
Yep.
But if there's one thing you can do,
Yeah, and I can simplify that even more.
Yeah.
So
Please do. Everyone's just waiting for the magic. Yes.
So it is very simple. So if you're listening, listen hard. You don't even need to use pens or anything, because this will make a lot of sense to you.
Yeah.
So our bodies rely on nutrients, right?
Yes.
And nutrients come from the food that we eat.
Yeah.
Our bodies rely on the nutrients for them to function properly. Every single biochemical process through the body, every single physiological process relies on vitamins, on minerals, on phytochemicals, on antioxidants. So we need to have plenty of those in our diet. So that's one thing. The other thing is we also need to make sure that we digest them really well.
Yes.
So if our digestion's out of whack, it's not going
Fix
to
it.
work. So and one of the reasons why digestion is out of whack is because we're highly stressed.
Yeah.
So there's 3 things we've got to look at and maybe create some changes there.
Yes.
So, those nutrients that you consume through your food, and after your body does break the food down really well, you end up with your micronutrients, your vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, and they fit into those biochemical processes. And it's like adding ingredients to a cake and then put it in the oven, and it's the
healthy
most
cake.
delicious healthy cake. Refined sugar free, gluten free, whatever, wheat free, all free of all the things that create inflammation. But if we miss a few ingredients, the cake is still going to come out of the oven, but it's going to be quite flat and quite not very tasty.
Yeah.
So if we put the right ingredients in, then we can create some beautiful changes for the body, and the body can then function. What happens, for example, if we don't have enough nutrients coming in and being absorbed on a regular basis, is some of those biochemical process will be compromised, and then it comes down to where your weakness is naturally.
Yes.
What's your genetic weakness?
We all have.
We all have a genetic weakness somewhere. So if it's your gut, yes, it will affect your digestion, and you might feel bloated. You might have pain. You might get reflux, whatever. If it's your hormonal system, then yes, you may have symptoms that are related to that because your body is struggling. So it's really interesting to watch, and it's really interesting to see how just by changing what you eat, how you digest, and the stress in your life. Yeah. And when we look at stress, yes, it can be emotional, but it can also be physical.
Yeah. I think what people need to understand too is when you eat food in a stressful state. So if you are stressed and you are consuming food, and most probably alcohol, and maybe the wrong food, fatty fried food, fast food, and that sort of thing, and alcohol and stimulants and stuff like that, your body can't deal with all that. So your body's not, because your cortisol's high, because you're stressed, so your digestion literally shuts down.
Yeah.
So whatever you're consuming is just going to go straight to the hips, ladies. So
that's right.
there's another key tip. Don't eat or eat bad food when you are stressed. You've got to let that emotion pass before you consume anything. Don't reach for alcohol and bad food, because you're going to regret it, and that's where that awful cycle then continues, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Because then you're going to feel really guilty, you're going to feel bad because you've put on weight and you're not losing weight, but your digestion's continually shutting down. So it's going to try and process the most toxic things first, which is usually alcohol or something, but the crap food that you've eaten alongside of it, the chips and
Yeah.
You know, they're going to go chips on the hips.
Chips on the hips, yeah. That's right. That's exactly right. With I would not eat any food when you're highly stressed anyway.
No.
It's when
worst time.
Worst time. And I would probably not just let those emotions pass. I would try and get those emotions out of my body in some way. So I may go for a walk, or it depends on what those emotions are. If I need to cry, I would just cry. If I can't cry, I put some music on that will make me cry. If I want to dance, I dance. If I want to sing, I'll sing. Whatever it is to get that emotion out, to get it out.
Yeah.
So once you've experienced the full range of this emotion and it's out of your body, then you can sit down and relax and eat. I'd also practice things like breath regulation, pranayama from yoga, to try and settle your nervous system. Yoga is fabulous as well.
Well, you teach yoga and meditation. Yes.
Run retreats.
And meditation is more like, I think for a lot of people, that's a really scary thought, meditation, because they go, oh my God, it's all. But because, and my theory is that because people don't know how to be still.
People don't know how to be still. Yes, people keep themselves busy constantly. They go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. For some reason, we feel that we need to fill every second of every day with something, right? So we don't have that stillness in our body.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because last night we were running a regular community meditation, and I remember saying when I was taking people through meditation that the very first focus of the meditation is to keep their body still, so they can do whatever movement they need. They can move their arms, legs, shake their, shake their hair, their wrists, whatever, just to get comfortable. And once they are comfortable, the first focus is to keep your body still.
Yeah.
So once your body is still, and once you can control that, that's part of your meditation, just to keep the body still, and that's your focus. Then you can go and do other things. Right. And I feel that people do expect for their minds to go completely blank when they meditate. So the expectation is way too high, because having a blank mind probably will only happen when after you take your last breath in this life, right? Until then, it's not going to stop.
Never blank. It's always something going on.
Yeah. But when we practice meditation, we create more gaps between our thoughts. It's not about having them going completely blank. It's about creating more gaps and creating more unattachments. We unattach ourselves from emotions. We stop making plans. We stop living in the future. We live in the now.
Yes.
So it's
more people need to do that.
And more people, and it is, you don't need to be a yogi. You don't need to be anything. You just need to turn up.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's the first step.
Yeah,
isn't it? That
Make
the commitment.
That's the first step. Yeah, that could be a whole other
discussion. Just turning up. How do you get people to turn up?
Yeah.
All right. So if my final question for you is in 3 parts. What are your 3 top tips for anyone listening? I suppose especially women, because most of our audience is for women, menopause women. But if somebody thinks, okay, I really need to get my act together, because I firmly believe if you're not getting your health together in your 40s and 50s, you're not going to set yourself up for a healthy old age. These are really important decades to make those changes. What would be your 3 most important messages for people listening?
Okay. First thing.
Yep.
Attitude.
Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that.
No.
Attitude.
I learned that myself and through my family and my clients as well. When I have a 46-year-old woman sitting in front of me as a client and telling me that she feels that she's so old and that she has no energy and she can't see her life getting any better, and all I'm seeing is a beautiful person that's got so much potential to live a very full and healthy life, I understood that it all comes down to attitude. I didn't tell her how much older than her I was, how fabulous I think, and how my life started at 43.
Yes.
I didn't really say that, but it comes down to attitude.
Wow,
so if you believe,
is it fake it till you make it kind of thing?
It's not fake it till you make it. So it's not fake it till you make it. It's like it's being.
Yeah.
If you want to feel young, you need to be young. If you want to feel vibrant, you need to be vibrant. If you want to feel loved, you need to be loved. If you want to,
Yes.
you know, so it's exactly
Okay.
the same. So yeah, attitude. So
Attitude.
understanding that, you know,
Right.
yeah. So working on that first, your attitude.
Okay.
So,
Number
yeah,
one.
number one.
two.
Number one, attitude. Number two, you are what you eat.
Yes.
You are what you digest. You are
Listening.
what you think as well.
Mm.
So it's important when you eat to eat foods that come from the ground, a lot more natural foods, fruits, vegetables,
Yes.
you know, good healthy grains. It's extremely important to have a heavily plant-based diet.
Yes.
And we know now, like, more, and it's so refreshing to see that there's so much recognition now for healthy plant-based diets,
Yes.
and the association between a plant-based diet and health,
Yeah.
and less inflammation and
Yes.
more longevity and also, you know, youthfulness and all the rest. Yes, it does work.
Yes.
So if you want to feel young, if you want to be healthy, go more plant-based, which
Yeah.
means that every time you eat, you need to look for anything that comes from the ground. Okay.
Yep.
If you are
Well, we come from the earth and we go back to the earth.
we do.
And in the middle of all that, we need to eat things that come from the earth.
Yes, I love that.
There you go.
I'm gonna steal that.
Okay.
Thank you. So yeah, so we definitely need to look at that. If you are a meat eater, it's okay. No judgment for sure.
Yeah.
But you want to eat foods that have a mother. So no more than
Yes.
one mother.
Yes.
So if you look at sausages, for example, they may have a few mothers. So
Yes.
stay away from those.
Yeah.
And the so foods that have a mother and foods that haven't been messed with.
Yes.
So foods that have not
Haven't been altered.
processed or
Especially
yeah.
things like salamis and all those sort of things. All those horrible
things that have been
processed.
refined, processed.
Gross.
We don't want to touch those.
All
So
right.
the first thing is your attitude, the second thing is your diet, and the third thing is your emotional wellness. So it's
okay.
so important to find that space where you can have your little bit of quiet time to connect with your true essence
Yeah.
and understand that you are love. That you are love. So you need to find ways to quieten down, slow right down,
Yeah.
and start activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which we have neglected for so long in this society.
I think people are scared to do that. I think a lesson I learnt many years ago it was a reflection lesson too, and it was to sit in front of a mirror with just a candle in some subdued lighting, so no lights on, just a candle, and to look at yourself in the mirror, to truly look at yourself and ask, you know, who are you? Who are you? And what do you need? And, you know, ask that question of yourself, because the thing is that most people know the answer.
Yeah.
They're just too scared to admit it.
Yes.
Or they're too scared to see it, because it may not be the reality that they're currently living in.
That's right.
So by doing that reflective kind of exercise, it allows you to connect with yourself, because it's just you. It's just you in the mirror. You're looking back at yourself and you're asking yourself these questions. And the more you can do that, and especially if you're just starting to make changes, I just found that such a profound exercise for so many women to do, because so many women are so lost about who they truly are, because they've been so busy giving themselves to everybody else and everything else that they've lost touch with who they are as a person. So
yes,
anyway.
yes, I've seen that a lot. So that's a really good good little exercise to do.
It is.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a really good one. It's, you know, something that I did. Well, if you want to take it one step further, especially for body acceptance,
Yeah.
they say to do it naked.
Oh, okay.
But, all right, we're not saying you have to do it, but I'm just saying if you really want it, especially people who've got some really deep, you know, emotional issues around who they are and, you know, how they look and the lack of confidence that they have, that doing it naked, I mean, maybe start with your clothes on first and then progress to that. But it really, you can't hide from that. You know, it's so raw, and you're only going to get an honest answer, because in the end, with this exercise, they say that the heart, you know, your heart truly knows the answer to all the questions you're going to ask. So you just have to listen. You just have to tune in.
Yeah, and that's where exactly where women around this age, that's when they need to start to tune in, because each and every one of us have all the answers and all the wisdom. within us, but taking that time to move away from distractions and sit there and maybe meditate or do this exercise, or maybe even write a journal, anything like that helps you connect back to your true essence, and then you can become the most inspiring teacher to people in your
Absolutely.
life.
To pass it on to the next generation, to your children, to your family, and I think that's probably the greatest lesson. That's what we're here for, isn't it? To make the world a better place, to contribute to the people around us and those in our life. We have sort of an obligation to be their mentors and teachers and pass on the wisdom that we have gained over the years. Well, that's how I see the world anyway. So, well, there are 3 good tips. So attitude, nutrition, and connecting back to self. Heart space. Heart space. 3 beautiful lessons. I'm sure there's been so many takeaways in this conversation that we've had today that I think, there are obviously women everywhere are going to be rushing to the mirror to have a look at their eyes, or maybe sitting in front of the mirror asking who they are. There are so many, practical things that you can do. Have a look at your diet, have a look at what's around your life, what you can do to maybe slow things down, spend more time with yourself. And if you need help, obviously there are beautiful people like Maya who are in practice on the Gold Coast. If you wanted to come and touch base with her, you can do that. As I said, we'll put her links below. And all we want, and the reason we do what we do, especially in our industry, is because we want people to truly live life to their full potential, isn't it?
Yeah,
we want you to live a full, happy and healthy, vibrant, energetic life and slide right in there at the end going, yep, I've lived my life and I have no regrets, and I've lived it authentically.
That's right. And quite often I feel for practitioners like us, it's not, what we do is not just a job for us. It's not just a job for us. We don't just turn up, do our thing and go.
No.
We live a certain way, and we feel a certain way, and we can see how wonderful it is. And we feel that we've been put on this planet to help other people achieve everything that we have achieved, and still, it's a work in progress for everyone, for us as well, every single day.
I'm still learning stuff.
We still learn as we go every single day.
But we want to shout it from the rooftops. I think one of the things in our world is we want to give everyone all this information all at once, because we've got so much to share, and we go, but if you could see this and if you could do that, and you'll be a happier, healthier person. That's all we want.
But sometimes the student is not ready, so we have to wait for the student to be ready.
That is very true. Wise words to leave this on. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your years of learning. It's been always a pleasure having a chat to you and catching up with you. But thank you for sharing it with our audience today. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Cheers.